Good evening. A preliminary hearing got underway in Sequoyah County today for Stacy Lee Drake. He's the man who was at the center of a multi-state manhunt last summer. Faces 3 counts of first-degree murder in Oklahoma. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi was in the courtroom today in Sallisaw. Joined us now to break down what happened. Jacob.
In a Sequoyah County courtroom today, Stacy Lee Drake sat silently as around a dozen witnesses took the stand during day 1 of his preliminary hearing. Take a look. This is new video of Drake leaving the courtroom late this afternoon. He's charged with 3 counts of murder in the first degree. Prosecutors say last summer, Drake first killed Philip Emerson in Canadian County, then traveled to Sequoyah County, where he then allegedly murdered Tara Underwood and Taylor Sharp, who were working at LaFerry's Propane. One man testified that he knew Drake by a different name, and according to him, Drake and the first victim, Emerson, were friends. Some testimony today was very emotional. Tara Underwood's then fiance described seeing her face down behind the counter. The prosecution will continue calling more witnesses tomorrow. The judge is then expected to determine if there is enough evidence to go to trial. Typically, crimes committed in separate counties are then tried in their respective counties, but prosecutors decided to combine the Canadian and Sequoyah County cases in this instance, calling it a pattern of criminal offenses. In Sallisaw, covering news where you live, Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
All right, Jacob, thanks. Also developing today, a Fort Smith couple accused of endangering the welfare of a child are both set to face trial together. Roy and Kelly Case were arrested after police say their 1-year-old child overdosed on THC. Child had to be hospitalized in early February. Medical staff determined the child had acute respiratory failure because of THC overdose. The 2 were arrested last month after an investigation by the DHS that found other children in the home also tested positive for marijuana. They're both free on bond with a trial date set for early September. Live look now out over Bentonville. It's been a wonderfully beautiful weather day today to start the work week, although we are now tracking a lot of rainfall headed this way. Joshua Weisel's in the Weather Center now with the first look at that.
Yeah, and it's been a fantastic day across the area. As you can see, just all of our cameras relatively quiet. Now, there are a little bit more in terms of clouds today compared to yesterday, especially in portions of the River Valley. But overall, it's not too bad of an evening across the area. Notice we're right around the lower to mid 70s area wide, some upper 60s as well. But overall, fantastic evening. Get out there, enjoy this beautiful next several hours this evening. It'll start to get chillier once that sun sets, but overall, not too bad as we head into tomorrow morning. The rain chances, they don't make their way until later tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, into the evening. Full details on how long that lasts and the right around estimate for when we could see rain in just minutes.
All right, Joshua, thanks. Anybody with a student loan, listen up. Beginning today, the Department of Ed is once again starting collections on defaulted accounts. 5 News reporter Kayla Davis finds out what that means for borrowers in default. Kayla?
Darren, according to the Department of Education, 5 million student loan borrowers are currently in default. If a student loan is in default, that means payments haven't been made in nearly a year. An additional 4 million borrowers are in what's called late-stage delinquency, meaning they haven't paid in 3 to 6 months. Debt collection was previously paused since March of 2020 to give borrowers a break during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. But now the federal government says borrowers in default could face serious consequences like wage garnishment, tax refund seizures, and reductions to Social Security benefits if they don't start paying again. With the return of debt collection, local colleges explain what this means for students who rely on federal aid.
If you're in default, you're not eligible for Title IV aid. So students wouldn't be able to attend right now and get their Title IV aid because if they were in default, they wouldn't be eligible. So I think this is really for students that maybe have already completed their education.
Loan rehabilitation, consolidation, or enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan are all options to help borrowers get back in good standing. Kayla Davis, 5 News.
All right, Kayla, thanks. Later tonight on 5 Plus, we're going to take an in-depth look at issues student loan borrowers are facing. Starts tonight at 7:50 on 5 Plus. You can watch it for free tonight with 5+ with your smart TV. Just text the word plus to the number on your screen. That's 785-5000. We'll send you back directions on how to download 5+ to your smart TV. Another deadline on the horizon later this week. Starting Wednesday, you'll need a Real ID compliant license or a passport to board a commercial flight. Now, the enhanced identification is also required to go into any federal building. To get a Real ID, you'll need several more documents than you need to get a regular driver's license, including your birth certificate and proof of residency. Now, even if you don't meet Wednesday's deadline, you'll still be able to upgrade to be Real ID compliant at any license office in Arkansas and in Oklahoma. And with Real ID deadline coming up, our Verified team looking into one question from a viewer wondering if a passport will get you into federal buildings without a Real ID. Megan Molaris verifies what the rules will be starting on Wednesday.
You know that you need a Real ID to fly anywhere in the U.S. as of May the 7th. The other option is to show your passport. But recently, a viewer asked this: I won't be flying, but if I had to go into a federal building, would my birth certificate work to show to get in? Our sources for this Verify are a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security and the White House website. Now, if you're called to maybe say be on a federal jury after May the 7th, 2025, and you don't have a Real ID, how will you even get in the building? Dan Velez, a North Carolina spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, said in an email, a U.S. passport will continue to be acceptable to access federal buildings after May 7th, 2025. A valid U.S. passport remains an acceptable form of identification for accessing federal facilities, including military bases and federal buildings, even if your state-issued ID is not a Real ID and it's not compliant. Here's another question to verify with that. A mom planning a family vacation to Washington, D.C. this summer asked, I heard the White House has different rules for tours and won't accept passports in lieu of a Real ID. Is that true? We looked at the White House website and the FAQs, it answers that question. It says, please note that as May 7th, 2025, guests must be Real ID compliant to visit the White House. A passport is an acceptable form of identification and may be used in lieu of a Real ID driver's license or ID. So we can verify, no, you can't use a birth certificate to get into a federal building as of May 7th, but you can use a passport to get into any federal building, including the White House, if you don't have a Real ID.
We have all the details about the documents you'll need to get a Real ID compliant license in Arkansas and Oklahoma on our free 5 News smartphone app. Arkansas's 95th General Assembly is in the books, but the debate over building that new prison near Charleston is not going anywhere. A funding plan failed to get enough support before lawmakers adjourned. Well, today, Franklin County residents delivered a letter to the governor's office about the issue, raising concerns and urging her to reconsider the planned location for the prison.
Most of our citizens are usually for jail expansion or prison expansion. That's never been the issue for a lot of us. A lot of us, the issue is the site.
Group also met State Senator Brian King at the Capitol today. He is one of the lawmakers opposed to the construction plans, arguing there's better ways to deal with prison overcrowding. We'll have much more from Senator King on today's meeting coming up tonight at 10.